Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Costello. I am doing the video for day 4. We're going to start off with some review, which I think goes with day 2 maybe. So why don't you go ahead and give number 1 a try. So you're going to pause your video, and then when you unpause, you're going to see my work on this one. So go ahead and do number 1 and pause your video now. So on number 1, here's what I did. I looked at that first interval, which was right here from -3 to 0, and I went, okay, I know it's positive, like all up here is positive. And I looked at the multiple choice and I went, well, this first one has -3 to 0 as positive, and the other ones don't have that. So I actually was able to eliminate everything and pick answer choice A just by doing the first little bit. Okay, so hopefully maybe you use some test taking skills on that one. All right, number 2, also a multiple choice / review. So why don't you do the same thing? Pause your video now and do number 2. Okay, so here's my work so far on number 2. So far, I noticed that there was a maximum at 10. So I went through and I eliminated A because it said its maxima was 0. That's not working for me. I kept B because B said that the maximum was at 10. Awesome. I eliminated C because C also said maximum not at 10, so I don't care. And then D says maxima, as in plural. So I kept it just to kind of, talk to you guys about it. If there's 2 of them and you really only see one maximum, like, get rid of that guy. It's definitely B. And then you can go ahead and check your minima and see that there's 2 minimas, and there are. There's one right here at 2, awesome, and then there's one right here at -1, awesome, so it's B. All right, let's dive into the day 4 stuff. So, we're doing a little bit of factoring, a little bit of solving. We are learning a new, I guess, shortcut on factoring is sum of cubes and difference of cubes. You have to know these, or you cannot factor the sum of cubes and difference of cubes. So this needs to be either memorized or write it on your formula sheet or your cheat sheet, okay? Or cheat sheet it. But seriously, you don't know these, you can't factor them. I'm just letting you know. So my sum of cubes. So let's pretend I have 2 numbers, a cubed plus b cubed. They will always factor to a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Okay, so the sign in the first parenthesis is going to match. The second sign in the second parenthesis is always going to be opposite. Okay, now a and b are the cube roots of those perfect cubes, okay? So you have to think like, okay, cube root of A, cube root of B, and then plug it in. Difference of cubes is very, very, very similar. So instead of adding, I am subtracting. So I have A cubed minus B cubed. And guess what? They factored a very, very, very similar pattern. So A minus B match the sign in the first parenthesis times A squared plus AB, change sign, plus B squared. Now the B squared at the end is always going to be positive, but see how that matches it again? Match the sign, change the sign. If you're memorizing it. If you're not memorizing it, that's fine. I think you actually get this on your final exam sheet, so it's like the only thing you get. All right, so let's practice on some of these. 1 through 5 are all sum or differences of cubes. So number 1, okay, we are going to find A and B in terms of what is the cube root of these things. So Z cubed is a perfect cube, okay? The cube root is Z, which would be your A. 125 is also a perfect cube, right? It is 5 cubed, so your B would be 5. Now this is a difference, so for this one I'm gonna actually write down my little formula and plug it in and show you how it works, but after a while we'll become pros and we don't even need to write it down. So a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay, all right, let's fill it in. So a is z minus b is 5. Times a squared, so z times z is z squared, plus a times b, so 5 times z is 5z, and b squared, so 5 squared is 25. Okay. Now this part right here, I know it's a trinomial. You will never ever have to factor that. So don't think like, oh wait, I gotta check if I can factor it. You don't need to. I'm just gonna let you know right now, it is good to go. You don't ever have to factor that guy. Number 2. Number 2 is a sum of perfect cubes. So A is my first thing, B is my second, and we're going to take the cube root. So cube root of x cubed is just x. Cube root of 8 is 2, so B is 2. Right, and this is a sum of cubes. So this is my formula, right? A plus B times a squared minus ab plus b squared. And then we're going to fill in. So a is just x, so I'm going to put x, or sorry, not a, x. There we go. Plus 2 times a squared, x times x is x squared, minus 2 times x is 2x, plus 2 times 2 is 4. And that whole thing is going to be your answer on that one. That's how you factor these perfect cubes. Or sum of cubes, difference of cubes. This guy. So here's the deal with this. I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, I've got y to the 4th and a y right here. Those aren't really cubes or perfect cubes. Okay. I also have 81 and 192. Those are also not perfect cubes. So I'm going to need to take out something from these guys. Okay. 81 I know is 9 times 9. I don't think 192 can be divided by 9 though. So we'll start with something smaller, maybe like 3. And it can be divided by 3. So I'm going to take out 3 and I'm going to take out y. And hopefully I get sum of cubes in here. So 81 y to the 4th divided by 3y is 27 y to the 3rd, plus 192 divided by 3 was 64. Now the 3y is just going to kind of stay along for the ride. We're going to look for sum of cubes, difference of cubes in here. And I do have that. A equals B equals, okay. Cube root of 27y cubed is 3y. Cube root of 64 is 4. Okay. All right. Now remember our pattern. I'm not going to write it on this one because hopefully we're getting used to it or we have it right in front of us. So the 3y stays on the outside. My first parenthesis, I'm going to match the sign. So a plus b, so 3y plus 4. Okay. My second parenthesis, remember, it's a squared. So 3y times 3y is 9y squared. Opposite sign, so I'm going to put a minus. A times b, 3y times 4 is 12y. Plus b squared, so I have to do 4 squared. 4 times 4 is 16. This is the fully factored form of what I had. So we're good on number 3. I know sometimes these take a while. All right. Why don't you guys do number 4? Okay. These are both perfect cubes. You just need to find the cube root of them and put them in your formula. So go ahead and pause your video now and do number 4. Okay, here's my answer on number 4. You should have gotten this, 2x plus 4 times 4x squared minus 8x plus 16. Now remember, on these where it has a squared and b squared, you have to remember to do this squared and this squared. Okay, so that's where I see a lot of common mistakes in this unit is you forget to square the first and the last in your second parenthesis. So make sure you do that, please. All right, number 5 is still different to cubes, just the variables come second, and that's okay. So you still have A and you still have B. Cube root of 8 is 2. Cubed root of 125 is 5. Cube root of x cubed is x, and cube root of y cubed is y. This is a difference, so my first parenthesis is just going to be a minus b. So 2 minus 5xy. Okay, here's where it gets tricky. Okay, the next one is a squared, so 2 times 2, which is 4. Opposite signs, we're going to put plus. A times b, so 2 times 5xy is 10xy. And then b squared, so 5xy times 5xy is 25x squared, y squared. Okay, remember to square everything, so everything's getting multiplied by itself. Okay, so these ones are real fun. Okay, it says solve each polynomial over the set of complex numbers. You actually shouldn't get any complex numbers over here, and I'll show you why. So we're solving, which means we need to have an equal 0, and we don't on number 6. So we are going to move the 10x squared over. So minus 10x squared minus 10x squared. So I have x to the 4th minus 10x squared plus 9 equals 0. Okay. Now, these ones, you don't have a 4th in there, so you could do this 2 ways. You could do this as u substitution, or you could go, you know what, my middle term is x squared, and you can factor this like an easy trinomial and just have x squared as your middle terms. I'm going to show you it that way, because on this one I don't really feel like using u substitution. And I know you know how to use u substitution. So 9 goes on top, negative 10's on the bottom. So I need 2 things that multiply to make 9, add to make negative 10. That's going to be negative 9, negative 1. Okay, so here's the funky part. X to the 4th is fine. Now when we plug in our middles, we're going to have this x squared. So minus 9x squared minus 1x squared plus 9 equals 0. Now we have 4 things, so we're going to group them here and here. And we're going to take out what they have in common. So x to the 4th and 9x squared, you can take out an x squared. And then you have x squared minus 9 left. Right. These guys don't have anything in common, but I do want my parentheses to match. And since this one has a negative 1, we're going to take out a negative 1. So then I have x squared minus 9, and they do match. Okay. So matching goes in 1. So I have x squared minus 9. The outsides go in the other. X squared minus 1 equals 0. Now this one's extra fun because we've got difference of squares inside both of our parentheses, right? X and x, negative 3 and 3. Same thing on this one. X and x, negative 1 and 1. So I'm going to write it up here, okay? The new factored. So I'm going to have 4 different parentheses. I'm going to have x minus 3 and x plus 3, because that's that x squared minus 9. Then next to it, yikes, I'm running out of room, x minus 1 times x plus 1 equals 0. All right, so I have a 0 here. X minus 3, well, that's going to be x equals 3. X plus 3, well, that's going to be negative 3. X minus 1, that's going to be positive 1. And x plus 1, that's going to be negative 1. Now, you also could have done this by solving with square roots. Okay, I'm going to let you ask your teacher how to do that one. If you want to see that one, I'm not going to show 2 different ways in the video. All right, number 7. Same thing on number 7. This time I actually do have to use u substitution though. Or actually, no, I don't. But I do need to make my own 0, so I do need to do minus 14x cubed, minus 14x cubed. So I have 2x to the 5th minus 14x cubed plus 24x equals 0. Now, I'm looking at this and they all have x's, so I should probably factor out an x. And let's take out that 2 so then I have an easy trinomial again, because that would be nice. Okay, so I have 2x on the outside, and then I have x to the 4th minus 7x squared plus 12. Just like the last one, I am going to do it without using... I am going to do it without using u substitution again, just to show you that you don't have to use it. Your middle terms just need to be x squareds. So my top number is 12, my bottom is negative 7. So my two factors that multiply to make 12 and add to make negative 7 are going to be negative 4 and negative 3. This is an easy trinomial, so I do get to shortcut it. I don't have to plug in, so you're just going to use x squareds though. So I'm going to have x squared minus 4, x squared minus 3 equals 0. Okay, now here's where I'm going to show you that you can actually solve using square roots. You don't have to factor it all the way down if you don't want to. You might have to ask your teacher what their preference is, but I'm fine if you solve with square roots. So these are all my zeros. So 2x, that's an easy 0, it's just x equals 0. X squared minus 4, I'm going to set it equal to 0. Now if I'm solving for x squared, I'm going to add 4 on each side. And now I get x squared equals 4. To get rid of the squared, we have to square root it. Remember, when you physically draw in the square root is when you have to put plus or minus 2. Now, I like that because then I don't have to worry about factoring it, and I would have still gotten that if I used difference of squares. Now we have one more 0 over here. Okay, I do need to get this x squared by itself, so I am going to add 3 on each side, and I get x squared equals 3, and same thing, I'm going to square root it. Now I know that you can't take the square root of 3. That's fine. Okay, you can still say that x is plus or minus square root 3. So these are all my answers. You got to list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Okay, on number, what number was that? 7. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. 2 more. This one is already like, please don't, because you're solving, do not make this like a difference of cubes or whatever, because you don't need to. You literally just need to get x equals. So if this is x, let's isolate it by adding 8 on each side. X cubed equals 8. Okay, let's get rid of this cube right here. Opposite of cubing is cube rooting. Let's cube root the 8. Okay. Making things a lot nicer for myself than factoring it and then trying to solve it that way. Trust me, you don't want to. Cube root of 8 is 2. So this is going to be my answer on that one. Yes, I only have 1 0. That's okay. One more. Let's erase all this junk from 7 because we done with that one. Right. We need to make our own 0. This is different from the last one because now we have 2 x's. So we can't just like divide things and whatever and cube root them. We have to actually move them. So we have to minus 8x on each side. So I have 4x cubed minus 8x equals 0. We're going to take out what they have in common. I can take out a 4 and I can take out an x. And then I have x squared minus 2 left equals 0. This is not different to squares right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line and find my zeros. First zero is easy. It's x equals 0. Second zero, let's solve using square roots. So plus 2 plus 2. X squared equals 2. Okay. To get rid of the x squared, let's square root it. Square root it. So x equals plus or minus square root 2. So, oops, sorry. Let me see if, there we go. So this is an answer, x equals 0. And this is an answer, x equals plus or minus 2. All right, that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, please let myself or your teacher know tomorrow in class. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day.